Hey, what's up guys? Tyler here with Secureteam. So, the question of today's video is, are we living in an alternate reality, some of us? Or, better yet, has our reality, our timeline, been changed at one point or another? Split in two? And are we just now noticing the effects and the changes of this split? Now, there has been a lot of talk recently about something called the Mandela effect. And that, my friends, is what we're going to talk about today. Now, I'm sure many of you have researched it. I've seen plenty of commenters posting about the Mandela effect. But for many of you who don't know, it really doesn't get any more strange or weird than this. So what is the Mandela effect? Well, it is a theory of parallel universes based in the idea that large groups of people have been found to have similar alternative memories about past events. Advocates of the theory claim that these collective experiences to be true, the fabric of reality must have been shifted at some point in the past, and therefore, not only do parallel, inhabitable universes exist, but that we are constantly switching between them. The Mandela effect was first described online in 2010 by a blogger named Fiona Broom. Broom described an experience at a convention called DragonCon when she discovered that other people had a false memory similar to hers, which was that Nelson Mandela had died during his imprisonment in the 1980s. Now, if you don't know, Nelson Mandela is the former president of South Africa. Well-known guy, who actually didn't die until December of 2013. But there's a lot of people out there who have memories of him passing away when he was locked up in prison in the 80s. Broom is quoted as saying that, "I thought Nelson Mandela died in prison. I thought I remembered it clearly, complete with news clips of his funeral, the mourning in South Africa, some rioting in the cities, and the heartfelt speech by his widow. I then found out that he was still alive." Fiona recounted discovering many widely held alternative memories, including certain Star Trek episodes that had never actually existed. In 2012, another blogger named Reese expressed a similar idea, but this time about the spelling of a popular children's book series called The Bernstein Bears. Now, for those of you who don't remember this, and a lot of you may not if you're younger, I was actually born in 1986, so I remember the book, these children books called The Bernstein Bears, and I remember clearly the name of the book being The Bernstein Bears, as in S-T-E-I-N, Bernstein. But when you actually look online, you find that it has changed from Bernstein, which again, even I clearly remember, to Berenstain, or B-E-R-E-N-S-T-A-I-N versus E-I-N. The blogger went on to say that when I saw the book covers, the ones in the squiggly bubble letters from my childhood, the ones that I saw 100 times a month from the formative ages of 5 to 9, the ones that every 20-something in the world will tell you read Bernstein Bears. Except they don't read Bernstein, they read Berenstain. So, if you're a child of the 80s and early 90s, this is what you'll remember when thinking of the Bernstein Bears children's book. This is what I remember. I spoke to my wife, this is what she remembers. And if everyone else I've asked, they are completely shocked when they see that Bernstein has suddenly, or apparently, never was Bernstein, but Berenstain. And I'm telling you guys right now, Berenstain, that means nothing to me. It was always Bernstein. And I even recall seeing the E-I-N in the name. There's even evidence of this change, of this possible split, sometime in our reality, on our timeline, or in our reality versus other people's realities. On August 5th, 2016, a poster on Reddit posted something entitled, "Holy shit, found Bernstein evidence while packing." And as you're seeing here, she posted this picture of a discovered Bernstein Bears VHS tape, where it is clearly spelled Bernstein and not Berenstain. as you're seeing on the official label. Now, hundreds of thousands of people have gone over this image, and there's not one iota of belief that this has been tampered with or anything like that. So this is the real deal. And I had never heard of the Bernstein Bears until I started researching into the Mandela effect. So these subtle differences that we're seeing in topics such as the Bernstein Bears, which is still one of the biggest when you are talking about the Mandela effect, but there's plenty more of these little subtleties, these changes, if you will. People who have known these names and these logos for years who are now for the first time seeing that their memories are not correct. Something has changed. And so today we're going to go through a list of some of the best and most strange changes and effects of this so-called split reality. And depending on your age, some of you may not remember these because you weren't alive, but there's plenty of them that you will know about. And so we'll just go ahead and test all of you and see if you remember something different from what you're seeing today. And if your memories are not lining up with the memories that other people have. So the first of which I have to mention, which is another one of the most discussed topics regarding the Mandela effect, and that is of the tank boy. Now, if you don't know what this is, well, basically a protester went out and stood in front of a line of tanks in Tiananmen Square in China on June 5th, 1989. And many people believe today that this protester was run over and killed by these government tanks, but have come to find out that he didn't die and that the tanks never touched him. Here are some recent quotes from people who posted on the website MandelaEffect.com regarding the Tiananmen Square tank boy. One user named Angel said, and I quote, "I remember Tank Boy getting run over by the tank at Tiananmen Square. My husband doesn't. We Googled it, and apparently he didn't get run over. I have a very vivid memory, though. I remember seeing a video of it. I remember learning about this in the 7th grade. Another poster named Bree stated, and I quote, "I remember Tank Boy getting run over. My partner and myself were talking about Tiananmen Square and Tank Boy. I mentioned how horrible it was that he was killed. My partner had no memory of that and thought I was crazy. He had to go on YouTube to show me that he lived. As I watched, I had no recollection of that event or that he was still living." Another poster said, and I quote, "Same here. I remember seeing blood on the street after the tank rolled over him, and how the backlash nearly caused communism to fall apart in China. This is so weird." Yet again, another poster states, and I quote, "I remembered the so-called tank guy being famous exactly because he was killed by that tank. Again, this is a memory of a news event talking about it after the original event had occurred." And the testimony from people talking about this just goes on and on and on. People who remember watching news reports after the boy was killed, seeing blood on the streets, recalling learning about this when they were in 6th or 7th grade in history class and being told by their teachers that they weren't allowed to show the entire video because it was too gruesome. But apparently, those memories are all now false. Something's been altered. The boy was not run over by the tank, as thousands, perhaps millions of people remember. And it gets stranger. So let's get to the list here, and you guys tell me whether these names or films or logos that I'm about to show you, if you remember them the way I did, and if the actual logos and names that you'll see today ring any bells with your own memories. So let's start with an easy one. Many of you have heard of Oscar Mayer. They are the hot dog company, Oscar Mayer Wiener. Been around for years. And this right here is probably what you remember. It's what I clearly remember. But apparently it's not Oscar Mayer Wiener. It's Oscar Mayer. And as you do a search for this and you look at all of the old photos, old and new, it's not M-E-Y-E-R. It's M-A-Y-E-R. Oscar Mayer Wiener. That doesn't seem right to me. Does it seem right to any of you? It's always been Oscar Mayer. And I specifically remember it always being M-E-Y-E-R. I have no recollection of there being an A. Oscar Mayer. Makes no sense to me. How about the store JCPenney? You all know JCPenney. You go to your local mall. You can get some trousers or some shirts or some slacks. Maybe a nice pair of khakis. And I always remembered it as capital J, capital C, Penny, Penny. But no, that's not right either. This is what you get when you look up JCPenney today. Penney, JCPenney. Febreze, the wonderful set of products that allows you to make your house smell really good. You walk around with the spray bottle, and I always remember it being spelled Febreeze. And yet that double E is nowhere to be found on any of the bottles that you'll see at your supermarket or online. It's just one E. Febreze. For some reason, always remember it being two E's. How about the creator of the Peanuts comics and TV shows, including Charlie Brown, Lucy, Snoopy, Mr. Charles Schulz? Or is it Schultz? Well, apparently not. It's Schulz. Schulz. Now, for many of you comic and cartoon buffs out there, how many of you remember it always being Schultz with a T? Charles Schulz. Again, makes no sense to me. How about Jiffy peanut butter? For all of you who grew up eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, I specifically remember Jiffy peanut butter. But apparently, those memories are false as well because it's Jif, not Jiffy. And apparently, there never was a Jiffy, just Jif. How about Looney Tunes? Many of you will remember Looney Tunes, a cartoon that was on, Nickelodeon and Disney Channel, and is just a staple in childhoods in the 70s and 80s and 90s. And I always remembered it as Looney Tunes with two O's, Toons, Looney Tunes, as in cartoons. So tunes was always short for cartoons. But this is what you see when you look up Looney Tunes. Tunes is not Toons, it's Tunes, Looney Tunes. Tunes, as in like a music tune. It makes no sense. I don't remember it being Tunes. And again, a lot of these really hit home with me because I'm a child of the 80s and 90s, and I distinctly remember, I have vivid memories of these things. And what I'm seeing today does not make sense. And why am I, along with millions of other people, remembering something completely different? Apparently a lot of cereal. We all love cereals. We've all probably one time or another eaten Captain Crunch. We all remember Captain Crunch, but it's not called Captain Crunch when you look it up. It's called Cap'n Crunch. CAP''N. I don't ever remember it being Cap'n Crunch. That sounds like I'm gonna go out and bust a cap in some guy named Crunch. I'm gonna be Cap'n Crunch later on tonight if he doesn't get me my money. That's what that sounds like to me. It was always Captain Crunch, as I remember it. Mr. Rogers. You all may know Mr. Rogers. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Now, I watched this show religiously when I was a kid. And you ask anybody to sing that song, it's always, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. In the neighborhood. Well, let's listen to the song and see what he actually says.
It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor.
It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood? In this neighborhood? I don't remember that. It's always been in the neighborhood, not this. Where did this come from? I was talking to some friends about this the other day, and I said, how do you remember the Mr. Rogers song? It's the first line in the song. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. And that's how they remembered it. So they were too shocked to see that it's this neighborhood. Doesn't make sense. I don't remember it that way. I'm sure you're all big fans of the film Star Wars with Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader. We all know the most popular line from that film, Luke, I am your father. But does he really say, Luke, I am your father? Let's find out.
He told me you killed him. No, I am your father.
And apparently all of our memories were wrong again. He says, no, I am your father. He never even says the word Luke. And when you look up memes and pictures, it's always Luke. Everybody remembers it as Luke, I am your father. Not no, I am your father. I've never met one single person that's ever said it any different than Luke, I am your father. And with the popularity of Star Wars And so many generations of people having watched this film over and over and over, you would think that a mistake like this would have never happened. And yet, here it is. Once again, millions of people with a false memory. Something that has been changed. It was always Luke. It was never no. So, this far, is any of this resonating with any of you guys? Do you have different memories of anything we've talked about so far today? And I guarantee you, a lot of you do have and a lot of you are probably stumped right now. The popular shoe brand, Skechers, always known to me as Sketchers, Skechers. Well, when you look it up, it turns out that it's Skechers with no T. The T is gone. Again, something I don't remember. I used to wear Skechers. I used to buy their dress shoes. I've always remembered a T. But apparently I'm losing my mind, and nothing from my past that I remember is correct. And I may need to go and get a CAT scan after I post this video. I'm sure there's a lot of car guys here in the comments. I'm a car guy myself. So let's look at some very basic logos from some of our favorite car brands. Let's start with the Ford logo. Everyone knows about Ford. It has a rich history in America. So I'm sure a lot of you looking at this here remember this being what the logo is. Specifically that of the letter F here. But when you go out and actually look at your truck, or you do a Google search, this is actually what the logo looks like. Now look at this subtle difference in the letter F's, and tell me whether it makes sense to you or not, and tell me whether you remember something different. And we have plenty of photos like this here, where people have baked cakes. I mean, there's a ton of Ford lovers out there who know every inch of that logo. And you can see here where they've used the logo that they remember it as being, as I remember it as being, without this little curled up part of the F here. I don't remember it that way. How about the Volkswagen brand? I always remember it as being Volkswagen, W-A-G-O-N. Well, it's not W-A-G-O-N, it's W-A-G-E-N. And that's not the only thing that people are seeing has changed or been messed with here. It's also the logo. I have talked to many people about this, and a lot of my friends back in high school had a Volkswagen. Used to have Volkswagen Jettas and things like that. And they always remembered the VW logo as not, I repeat, not having a dash in between the V and the W. So this image here is how they've always remembered it. But when you actually look up the logo, you see a dash in between the V and the W. And you can go online and research this, and you'll take note, if you do, of all the people who remember these things exactly the way I have, and probably many of you have, who are completely shocked to see how wrong they were, and refuse to believe what they're seeing today. They do not remember these things this way. Something has been changed. How about the Volvo logo? I always remembered it being the word Volvo with the circle around it, and that was it. But when you look at the logo today, it has a arrow sticking up out of the top right of it in the shape of a male sex symbol. I don't remember this arrow being here up at the top. This is how people remember. This is how I remember it here, without the arrow. I have no memory of this arrow here on the Volvo logo. And so it's very strange. How about Fruit Loops, the cereal? Always known as Fruit, F-R-U-I-T, Loops. Well, you're wrong again. F-R-O-O-T, Loops, is what you will see when looking at a box at your local cereal aisle. I always grew up eating Fruit Loops. I mean, I've eaten every cereal you can imagine, and I remember it always being fruit, spelled like the word fruit, not this F-R-O-O-T nonsense. So are we all just idiots? And I mean, these things go on and on and on and on. You can research them yourself. Go and Google Mandela effect. You can find videos listing all of these examples, all of these changes. People remembering things differently. People's deaths being remembered differently. People thinking people have died when they haven't, and vice versa. People remembering our geographical maps being different. Countries and states being in different places than they are when you look at world maps. Certain events in history, little subtle things like titles and logos and songs or films. These little subtle changes that are getting people in such of an uproar because these people remember what they remember. And when you find out that so many of your memories have been wrong, when you know that they're not wrong, it really gives you cause to wonder. And it really makes you have to seriously question whether something has been changed. Films like The Matrix or The Adjustment Bureau, are these just fiction? Or was there a split in our timeline at some point in history? Which is why half of the people remember these things and the other half remember them completely differently. Which reality are you living in? Which of these splits, these alternate realities, are you in? And how do you remember these things that we've talked about in today's video? Let me know down in the comments section. I would really like to hear it. I'll be monitoring the comments. And again, research the endless amount of examples. What I've shown you today is just a tip of the iceberg. There's a lot of great websites out there, specifically one that's called MandelaEffect.com. I will put the link down in the video description, and it will give you a list of all of these changes and goes into quite a lot of detail on many of them. So be sure to check that out. Let me know what you guys think. We are planning to do a follow-up video showing even more of these changes, and this is definitely going to be a topic of further research. So, is the Mandela effect real? Have your memories been tested after watching this video? Let me know down below, and be sure to share, like, and subscribe on your way out. I'd really appreciate it. And stay tuned because I've got a lot more coming. Stay safe, guys.